Welcome to the Memorial Day edition of Coffee with Coach Caffey. And if you know anything about me, you know that I really enjoy watching old war movies. And one of the reasons I do is I enjoy watching and remembering the struggle and the price that many Americans paid that we might have the freedoms we have now. You know, a lot of that freedom we have now for this generation came at a pretty low price. But for generations in the past, the price was very great, and the struggle was great. And so, you know, I think we need to be reminded of that. You know, and Memorial Day is a great opportunity for that. It's one of my favorite holidays. I also like watching the Medal of Honor documentaries. You know, the things that those guys did. They went way beyond the call of duty for their fellow man, and so I like to see them honored for what they've done. So very few of this generation know a lot about sacrifice and know about that. You know, we just don't have many opportunities to struggle like those guys did. The physical training that they went through, and you know, the life and death fight that they endured. So I think, you know, we need to all say thank you to those that have served. And I have had many of my players have gone on to service in their country, for their country. And I want to say thank you to them especially. My prayers are with you, and I hope that you're having a great day today. James 1:2 says, "Consider it pure joy, my brothers and sisters, whenever you face trials of many kinds." And you think, why? Why would the Bible say that? You know, it's kind of hard to understand. Why do we need to thank God for the struggles? Well, you know, if you read the second half, it says, "Because you know that the testing of your faith produces perseverance. Let perseverance finish its work, so that you may be mature and complete, not lacking in anything." Mature. So that's one of the things that we set as our goal at Brentwood Christian, our athletic program. We wanted the young men that came through our program to be mature young men. We wanted them to be confident individuals and that could face the trials of life ahead of them. And you know, I think that's one of the things that we've been able to accomplish ever since I've been a head football coach is we put kids through enough that when they faced trials and difficulties, they were ready for it. You know, we practiced. I've always said that experience is a wonderful teacher, and so what I mean by that is there's no way to learn how to play middle linebacker except getting in there and playing middle linebacker. And so we tried to put our players in game type situations to prepare them for the games. And so we spent a lot of time just scrimmaging. We'd put a defense over there, and we'd put a coach with them, and they'd try to stop us, and we'd try to move the ball on them, and they'd throw everything they could at us and we didn't really script a lot in our practices, but we would oftentimes throw the kitchen sink at our offense to prepare our offense to be ready for that in the game, you know, within the confines of our opponent's game plan. But you know, they were ready. And then in the weight room, we tried to work those kids to the point where they thought they could not go on, and then we'd do some more. And you know, we'd tell the group that if one guy missed a push-up, then we were going to start over. And then we'd get, you know, sure enough, somebody would be that guy, and he would let us down, and then we would start over. And they would think, "Oh no, we couldn't do that last 10," and then they realized they could do more than they thought they could. And it was, you know, it was a valuable teaching experience for them. That it wasn't their body that was limited in what it could do, it was their mind. And so they had to become more mentally tough. You know, I used to laugh at a commercial. It was an oil change company, and they would have a mechanic on there, and he would say, "You can either pay me now or pay me later." In other words, you could either let him change your oil regularly, or you were going to have your car in there and he was going to have to fix it. Well, I feel like parenting's that way. You either parent now or you're going to be parenting for a long time. And so I didn't want to raise my children for their whole life. And so I learned to sit back and let them struggle so that they would become more mature. And I think that's an important thing for parents to learn, because we have these parents now that, they used to call them helicopter parents. They would hover over their children and try to help them through all their difficulties. Well, there's another term now. It's called lawnmower parents. And the lawnmower parents are the ones that walk around in front of their children and remove obstacles before the kids even get a chance to see them. And so what's happening now is there are a lot of kids that are never growing up. They're never maturing, and their parents are still raising them when they're 30. They're moving back home and living with their parents, and the parents are still having to get the obstacles out of their way because they don't know how to deal with things. So pay me now or pay me later. A couple of programs that I coached early on in my career, I probably need to apologize to those young men right now at Greene County Tech and Lubbock Christian, because I really put them through the mill. I was a lot tougher back then and thought that was the only way. I think kids were different back then. You could do that with them. But the kids at Lubbock Christian High School, some of those kids, that was my first head coaching job. I think we ran 20 hundreds on the first day of practice, and most kids, they'd fall out now if we did that with them. And so, but those kids, they were tough kids, and they were not going to quit. And so, what happened is the young men became stronger, and everyone saw them grow and mature and grow in confidence, and so more people want to be a part of our program. And so instead of losing kids, we actually gained kids because they could see the growth and maturity of that group of young men. We ended up playing for the state championship that year, or 2 years later after I started coaching those kids. But we had Daniel Bristow on that team. He, went on and became a coach in Louisiana. Paul Haley lives in the Lubbock area, was our quarterback. Scotty Scarborough was one of our offensive tackles that became a successful businessman in the Lubbock area. Wade Mahaney went on to West Point and served in the United States military after he graduated from there, I believe in Desert Storm. So we had a great group of young men, and I was very proud of the progress that they made. And so, they learned that they can do more than they thought they could. Then I left there and went to Greene County Tech. And Greene County Tech, I might have had the most guys join the military from that team. I had, those guys, they went through a lot, and they made an amazing turnaround there. We went from 0-10 my second year there to 7-3 my third year there. We were the most improved team in Arkansas that year. And so our quarterback for that team was Kelly Garner. I've talked about him in the past. He was a guy that was played in the band when we got up there. I think he played the tuba, and then came out. We played him at nose guard at first. He was kind of a short, stocky guy, and then during the course of the year, we found out, golly, that guy's quick and he's strong, and he became the winningest quarterback in Greene County Tech history. Brian Massey, another guy that Kelly went on to the Marines, and when he came back and told us that, we asked him how boot camp was. He said it wasn't nothing compared to what you put us through, Coach. But so, we worked him very hard at Greene County Tech. Brian Massey went on and served in the United States Army also. He was about a 5'9", 170-pound offensive lineman that could really play. And both those guys are great leaders. I still remember coming into the locker room at halftime and going into the coaches' meeting, and I listened to these two guys, motivate the team at halftime. Kelly Garner and Brian Massey were great leaders. Tony Dethridge was a kid that played for us there that really, faced some struggles growing up, and I felt like Tony, we were the coattail for Tony to hang on to. Lost contact with him now, but he was a very tough, strong individual. Kenny Autry went on to serve in the military, and he did a super job for us. He was our first Division I signee out of our football program at Greene County Tech. But these guys at both of these schools, they stood up to the test, and they learned a lot from it, and they grew from it. And so that's kind of where they plowed the ground for every other kid that played for me after that. Is that I realized the benefit of hard work, and we developed the slogan "Work Wins" way back then, and they really made some amazing progress and really impacted their whole school. Well, thanks again to all you veterans, and I tried to think, and I'm not sure, but to the best of my knowledge, I've never had a player lose his life in the service of the country. But and I may be wrong about that. If I am, let me know. You can contact me at stcaffey@hotmail.com, and I'd be glad to hear from you. God bless you, and happy Memorial Day.